and a satellite launch earlier this month. Well, the United Nations Security Council is expected to meet Thursday in New York to talk about the Syria ceasefire agreement. It's set to take effect on Friday.
But the U.S. remains skeptical of Russia, which helped broker the deal, and is considering a plan B. Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr explains.
Heavy airstrikes and shelling as Syrian forces try to take a key town in the northwest after ISIS moved in. Fighting ISIS is still fair game under a ceasefire that is just days away from going into effect. But Russian and regime forces are dramatically reshaping the battlefield before the agreed stop in fighting with the rebels. The British Foreign Secretary making it all public.
What we have seen over the last weeks is very disturbing evidence of coordination between Syrian Kurdish forces, the Syrian regime, and the Russian Air Force.
U.S. intelligence indicates Kurds in the West are working with the Russians to attack moderates the U.S. supports, even as other Kurdish groups press from the East, groups the U.S. wants to fight ISIS. It's all putting Russian influence potentially in control of the border area next to Turkey, a NATO ally. Tonight, U.S. uncertainty about Moscow's compliance runs high.
There's a significant discussion taking place now about Plan B in the event that we don't succeed.
The Pentagon also doubtful.
I think there's a certain dose of skepticism.
Russia says it will comply with the ceasefire. But if it does not, what is Plan B? Several U.S. officials say there could be more sanctions on Russia or pressure on Russia to stop what Washington says is indiscriminate bombing of civilians. But for now, Plan B stops short of any U.S. military action. The U.S. already flies under the eye of Russian radars across Syria, a U.S. official tells CNN. Middle East allies could wind up supplying advanced weapons to the opposition, such as shoulder-fired anti-air missiles. That would be a dramatic escalation and risk ISIS getting its hands on them as well. The U.S. military also concerned that the Russians may be maneuvering to retake Raqqa, the Syrian city that is the capital for ISIS and where it's believed many ISIS leaders may be hiding out. The worry, in part, the Russians could get there before the U.S. can deal with finding those ISIS leaders. Barbara Starr.